In this video, I will show you why we might be in the very end phase of this crypto cycle and how you can profit from this last leg up. So let's get straight into it. Last Sunday, I posted the following. We've still got a few months left before it's over again for roughly a year. In the meantime, I could see Bitcoin dominance dropping again, meaning a rotation from Bitcoin into altcoins. However, not an alt season like we've seen it in the past. This is actually happening right now. Over the past few weeks, I've already shared several analyses pointing out that the market is showing bearish signals on the higher time frames. Very important to mention, we're talking here about the higher time frame, weekly to even monthly time frame. So these kinds of signals take months to play out, sometimes even years, but in this case, months. So don't expect things to happen overnight and rather think long-term in weeks and months. So the first thing we're looking at is a Bitcoin 3 drive forming on the monthly, 2-week, and weekly time frame. We're seeing this here. It's possible this will form in the coming weeks and months, meaning that we would also go higher, up to 130, maybe even 140,000 and more, where it would be formed. In this case, it's important it's not valid right now, so it's not confirmed right now, but it would be confirmed if we tap this trend line here and then this one here, and then it would be confirmed. It would be invalidated if we make a higher high here on the RSI and go over this trend line and close. So what we need here is a monthly close with a tap on those two trend lines. On the other hand, we have the weekly showing a similar picture here, very similar. Here you can even see more upside, up to 150 maybe. We'll see. And yeah, here the RSI painting this a similar picture here, as you can see. And on the weekly, very similar too. We're seeing a 3 drive pattern forming, and those likely play out when they are confirmed. So usually you will see a full RSI reset when they happen, meaning we would go here into an oversold area, and that usually marks a bear market. So here there's also good upside. We could go up to 140,000, maybe even 150,000 at that point. If we see a monthly close above 150, it could be invalidated already on the monthly, the 3 drive. So yeah, have to be cautious with that, but something to look at. Then the next more macro topic is the dollar index, the US dollar index, the DXY. It is at range lows right now, as you can see. So we have been forming this parallel channel since 2008, as you can see. And we've had a few crypto cycles in the meantime. And right now, the RSI is oversold and we have reached range lows, as you can see here. So we have reached those range lows once again. And since then, we're actually rising, as you can see. Doesn't have to mean that Bitcoin will bleed immediately because the DXY is rising. As you can see here in November, the DXY was also rising and Bitcoin reached new all-time highs. The correlation is not perfect, but usually in a macro cycle, if the dollar is rising, you can expect a bear market for risk assets, or like just an outperformance, at least from other investments. And at the same time, we're also seeing here a bullish divergence. So we're seeing a lower low, but a higher high here on the RSI, as you can see. And last time that happened was not long ago, actually in 2024. And the DXY rose 9%. But also important to mention, at that time, This also marked the bottom for the Bitcoin local. Well, it marked the local bottom for Bitcoin, and from then on we started rising. But usually, this is not good if we're talking in the macro, from a macro perspective. Then, on the other hand, we have a bearish monthly divergence on the SPX, which is the S&P 500. This one has been confirmed last month in June. And as you can see, it's pretty clear with this November candle to the, well, now July candle too, that is forming here. So we're having a bearish divergence on the SPX. Last time it happened wasn't long ago either. It was back in 2021, where we saw a 26-27% correction. So something to watch out. So when it comes to this predicting this end phase, it's really important that you look into the market on a daily basis. So you analyze it on a daily basis. It's not that hard. You just need, a few minutes to see if there's some divergences. If there are some divergences forming, so what you want to look out for is a 12-hour daily or 3-day bearish divergence, sometimes also bullish. So depending on the index, if there's a bullish divergence on USD dominance, that is for us bearish, right, for Bitcoin, because that means money is rotating back into USDT, so into cash. So what you want to look out for, let's say here for USD dominance on a higher time frame, is something like this. We had this in November, December, which marked the local top a few weeks later. What we got is first we saw a bullish divergence forming. We had a lower low and a higher high here on the RSI, and then a lower low again with a higher high on the RSI, meaning we had a 3 drive even, which did play out and reset the RSI completely on the daily. So that is something you want to look out for here on the USDT dominance index. So we might fall here into this area in the coming weeks and months, and that's when you want to look out for a bullish divergence. It could even unfold here. We don't really know right now, but that's why we do look into the market on a daily basis. And then also, some bearish divergences. We had this in the last cycle on the daily time frame here for Bitcoin, for example. So you have here a high on the RSI and the lower high, and here you have a higher high on the Bitcoin price. So meaning we had a bearish divergence, and it did play out. It actually marked the top for this cycle. And at the same time, we had this over here, as you can see, we had a high here, a lower high, and so on. So we lost some steam here, and actually we had a similar pattern here on the weekly. Looking back, we had this big weekly bearish divergence here, as you can see. It's pretty clear here that was forming, right? So here we have this, and here the high. So we had a higher high in the price and the lower high on the RSI, meaning a bearish divergence, and that one also played out. So actually, I can even show you the massive correction we had after this playing out, which was, let me see, 77% correction. Doesn't mean we'll see that for Bitcoin. We don't really know how deep we go. That's why I use local triggers. But let's say this correction is playing out, then you want to look for a weekly RSI reset, and even on lower time frames, well, not the 4 hour or 1 hour, I'm speaking about higher time frames, but on the lower end, you want to look for 12-hour daily 3-day bullish divergences when we do fall, when we do start correcting. So that is it for the local confirmations. Then other things I'm looking out for is sentiment and market positioning. So very typical signal is the fear and greed index. So if we would see the fear and greed index stay here in extreme greed for a long enough time, that would also give me a signal to sell and take some chips off the table at least, meaning, the market is overheating. Then we also have the funding rate heat map, same website, it's on CoinGlass over here. Say, we start overheating here again, meaning that we have overly positive funding, meaning more longs are paying shorts. That is usually a sign of greed. As you can see, last time here we had the same in November, December, marking the local top a few weeks later. So you have to be careful with that, and also not just use technical analysis and use other indicators like sentiment. Then we also have open interest. We'll look into that. That usually signals, how overcrowded it is. So a sharp open interest increase means high leverage is building up, and the risk of that is that we have overcrowded longs, and liquidation risk is starting to build up, and usually that marks the top, or at least we're near a top, right? And right now we're again at all-time highs here on interest, open interest. So that's it for the signals. Now the last part, really important, execution philosophy. As you can see, I do not use any fixed price targets. So I don't say, oh, we're going up to 150,000 or 180,000. I use those local triggers, on a daily basis. So I check the market every day and follow the structure and the real-time triggers. So I don't stick to a price prediction, because that is actually very dangerous. Because if you do, you start ignoring your setup. So it must reach, let's say your target on Bitcoin is 180,000 and you're at 150,000 and there's like a bearish daily divergence forming. Do you want to stick to your price target of 180,000, or do you want to stick to your setup? So that is why I don't use any fixed price targets. Then for the top, we need confluence. So we need the macro structure, we need local confirmation, and sentiment and market positioning to all give similar signals. For example, here on the macro structure, it is very important that we have those three drives and they play out. So those local confirmations here, they must occur within or after the three drive structure is confirmed. So this is really important that we have that confluence, and that also fear and greed is in extreme greed, for example, funding rate is positive, open interest at all-time highs, and so on. Then, as I said here before, daily price action review is essential, so look into the market every day. It's not that hard. You need 10-15 minutes when you trade on the higher time frame. That is why I recommend higher time frame trading for people that are working or have a family, because you don't need that much time, and you actually can even make more, in my opinion, because I personally do 2-3 trades a month and make high return than others that scalp doing 30, 40, 50 trades a month. So they do day trading and make less returns on that. Then at last, very important, start de-risking when you do see those signals. So 12-hour, 1 day, 3-day divergences forming, and they emerge inside the macro 3 drive we spoke about here, right? So that is it. We might be in the end phase of this crypto cycle. It's not confirmed yet, but it's definitely a good point to look at those local confirmations and look out for some good investments and make the best out of it. If you are interested in working with me one-on-one, make sure to check the pinned comment. I have a mentorship program. The applications are open right now. And we also have a inner circle. So if you want to join us there, make sure to check out the link in the description or pinned comment. Thank you. God bless you.